Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 4th episode of MOBAnomics 101, where we educate you on the world of MOBA games. As usual, we are joined by Blake Seymour, the Vice President of Dalhousie Esports Society. Today, we'll begin our first part of making your MOBA experience more efficient and effective. This is important, especially if you're just starting, as this will make your experience better and allow you to learn faster and get proficient at using the tools the MOBA games provide you with. Now, of course, each MOBA game has its own specifics, from just being able to customize the control layout to being able to completely modify the layout of the game's user interface as well as other game elements. In addition to modifications, each MOBA game comes with a pack of features that make it unique and make your experience as a player quite different, depending on how you use these features or if you use them at all. As usual, we will cover the main 3 MOBA games, but there are many more out there, each with its own specifics. We shall begin with a small demonstration by showing you a Dota 2 player that does not use hotkeys or shortcuts. Let's see what happens. In this particular example, our player is located in the bottom lane. He just got enough gold to buy a brand new item he was saving up for. The item can only be bought in the base, so he drags his camera down to the base, left clicks on the courier, left clicks on the shop, selects the item he wants to buy, buys it, then left clicks on one of the courier's abilities to tell it to deliver the item to his hero that he left in the bottom lane. But oh no! As he was doing that, the enemy team was able to kill him, and because his camera and his attention was focused on purchasing the item all the way back at the store, our player was not even able to properly defend himself. This is definitely not the way we recommend you to play, unless you're into losing. For comparison, here's a player that uses hotkeys and shortcuts. Same situation, enough gold to buy an item, but in this case, player's courier that will deliver his brand new item is bound to a hotkey, as is the courier's ability to deliver. He also uses a hotkey to access the shop. As a result, he doesn't have to move his camera back to his base or left click anything at all. He did everything he needed to do without losing his focus. And here's the best part. He was able to see the enemy players being low on health and secured a kill for his team. Pretty big difference, wouldn't you say?
Setting up proper hotkeys is essential to ensure consistent play in any MOBA, especially as you progress in skill. The first thing you want to do is make sure all of your hotkeys are in a comfortable position for your keyboard hand. You should be able to reach every key you need with little to no movement of your hand and just your fingers stretching to activate the ability or item. By default, your spells will be set to the Q, W, E, and R keys. I recommend keeping these the same. These 4 keys will be your new home base, and when you are rebinding your abilities and items, it is important to keep in mind that this is where your fingers will be for a majority of the time you spend playing. The main thing that needs to be addressed in Dota and Han in terms of hotkeys is for your items. By default, they are set to the number pad, which is on the opposite side of the keyboard from your home base of Q, W, E, and R. Change these hotkeys to anything that you feel comfortable with that is closer to your main spell keys. This helps not only with comfort, but increases your reaction time and accuracy with the activation of items as well. Personally, I have my items set to spacebar, C, V, B, and 2 mouse buttons, but you can change your keys to whatever it is you prefer. Keep in mind that the keys 1 through 0 on the top of your keyboard are set to control groups by default. While it may seem tempting to rebind these to items, especially as a player coming from League of Legends, I highly discourage you from doing so. As your skill level increases, control groups will become more and more necessary, so it is important not to neglect them when starting out. In League of Legends, things are a bit different. With the removal of unit selection, there is no need for control groups. Items are bound to 1 through 6 at the top of the keyboard by default, with spacebar snapping the camera to your champion. If you plan to only play League of Legends and not dabble in any other MOBA, this can stay the same. If this isn't the case, I recommend changing these hotkeys to increase consistency across all MOBA games. I've changed the 1 key to the snap camera to champion function, and then I use the same item hotkeys as I do in Dota. Another option to look into when playing League of Legends is smart casting. This feature cuts out the additional targeting click when you use abilities. Whenever you activate a spell, it will instantly be cast towards your cursor or targeted on the unit you are hovering over, depending on the spell. This is an option that is completely up to the user. Spend some time with both and use whichever you are more comfortable with.
In Heroes of Newer, things are similar to Dota 2 in terms of control customization, but on top of that, Han delivers a whole new system of mods and customization tools, allowing you to change virtually anything, from in-game textures to completely redesigning your user interface to your own taste. You can spend hours in picking out the right mod for you, or you can even go and make your own. This is true flexibility. The downside of this is that some mods make the game slightly unfair to people that don't have them or don't know that those mods even exist. So definitely spend some time researching mods if you plan on playing Heroes of Newerth. This concludes our segment for today. We have many more tips and tricks in store for you, so make sure not to miss our next episodes. Until next time, class dismissed.
Now we love throwing some questions out to our followers on Facebook, and in addition to the always fun and often embarrassing gamer confessions, we also like to do something we call Desert Island Games. Now the scenario is simple. You're about to be marooned on a deserted island. You've got some serious gaming choices to make. So this time around, we had to ask, if you were to be stranded on a desert island, you can only take one console with you, complete with its entire gaming library. Which one would it be? Now, one thing we noticed right off the bat was that there should have been a level of difficulty associated with this. And what I mean by that is keeping the parameters in check. One console and its game library, none of this backwards compatibility, no emulators, virtual consoles, but we're going to get to that in a minute. The winner, albeit by only a slight margin, can you guess what it is? It was the Super Nintendo. Now, this would be my personal choice as well. While my favorite games were built for Nintendo 64 and the original PlayStation, the SNES has by far the largest amount of my favorite games in its library. And I'm talking about some of the classic RPGs like you got your Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 5 and 6, A Link to the Past, the whole Breath of Fire series, and a bunch of others. So we've got Dave, who says, I was close to going with the NES because the games are so hard, they would last forever. That's true. But SNES games, and I have to agree with you there, Dave. We've also got Adam, who says, if I go with the SNES and its entire game library, would that also include the Super Game Boy? And if so, would that include the Game Boy library too? And no, the answer is no. Runner-up was the PS2, and we've got Darcy, who says, easy. PS2 has a ton of remakes and collections, and yeah, you definitely can't argue with that. You've got some great remakes like you got Deus Ex, King of Fighters series, Phantasy Star, Return to Castle Wolfenstein, and you've got the Tomb Raider Anniversary series as well. Now we've also got some love for the original PlayStation. Scott says, that console reintroduced me to gaming and I lost months on it. Gran Turismo, Final Fantasy VII, Tactics Ogre, Final Fantasy Tactics, all amazing games with replay value. Now the question remains, does a PC qualify as a console? We've got Daniel, who says, high-end gaming PC with full Steam library. I don't know, that kind of sounds like cheating to me. But of course, you wouldn't be gamers if you didn't try to cheat a little bit and maybe pick something that would allow for more games than your standard console. It didn't take long for Justin from Newfoundland to suggest the Ouya and all its emulator goodness. And we've got Brian, who says, I'm a cheat, Retro N5. I think we're gonna be sure to pull the reins on our next Desert Island Games. But you can make sure you get in on the conversation by following us on Facebook at facebook.com/GameCodeTV. We'll have another one coming up for you soon. After the break, we catch up with Adam to give us his impressions on Antichamber.